What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Mint Hunter Comics, and today I'm doing a video about why I got out of statue collecting. And you are actually going to start to see this display begin to diminish in the next upcoming weeks. I do have an eBay page, and I've started putting up some of my statues, and they are actually selling at pretty much a weekly basis at this point. So they are going to go bye-bye. You're going to see more comic book related, well, slabbed books and things like that on display here in the background in 2023. And so I just wanted to talk about why I've gotten out of it. And there are a few reasons. First things first, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. Is there something you've gotten out of? Action figures, statues, maybe you got out of comics, maybe you got out of some collectible. Why'd you get out? Leave it down below. And consider joining. This is the main job now, so that $1.99 a month is going to help in a large way. You also get early videos and other sorts of member perks. So I got into statue collecting in about 2015. That was when Sideshow was coming out with a bunch of DC lines. And at first it started with Batman. I wanted to have Batman, I wanted to get some villains, and I wanted to expand that line. Eventually I got into DC villains in general, and then I got into other DC heroes, Justice League members. So obviously, like most collections, it started small and it got big. And that's actually one of the reasons why I had to get out is it was getting too expansive. The earliest subscribers I have to this channel even know that this channel started as a statue review channel inspired by the likes of Chris from Batman Statue Collector and Gem Mint. And I think that their production value was and still is way better than mine. So I basically said, I'm going to go more in the comic direction. You guys kind of got that market cornered, I think. One of my favorite YouTube channels still is Mr. X with the Extreme channel. He's the best at what he does. It's awesome. I can't be that anymore. One of the things is the cost. I could never be a Mr. X because he's got like a statue coming in almost every day. And A, I don't have the space, but B, it costs a ton of money. And that's what happened. I started collecting in 2015. In 2015, statues, these quarter scale statues you see, they were anywhere from like $300 to $500 was like, I can't believe that's $500. That's crazy. That's so expensive. Well, right around 2019, things started to increase. And in 2022, or excuse me, 2020, everything went nuts. Pandemic hit, prices skyrocketed, companies needed to understandably start increasing prices because the costs were going up. Well, even before a lot of this inflation hit, everything went up a little too fast. So I was collecting statues for 3, 4, 500 bucks, and suddenly I was immediately thrust into seven, eight, $900,000, and immediately every single statue I was looking at was four figures. So that's hard to continue to do when you started out at a fraction of that. Additionally, Sideshow, particularly, kind of stopped doing the characters I wanted. So I wanted a Riddler. I wanted all these other characters that I think they still haven't even made. They just stopped making them at a pace that I needed them to continue, and they just weren't doing it. So I was hurting because the main focus of the collection was to get that Batman line, and they just weren't coming out with them. So I started going custom. I got myself into custom groups, and I learned about the custom community. And I got my custom Riddler. I got all kinds of custom statues that cost like 3 times as much as a Sideshow piece, and but you don't have to wait. Well, the cost just got way too real. And unfortunately, if I think back and if I'm really honest, if in 2020 or in 2019, if I had spent all my money on comic books instead of statues, I would have some outrageous books for this collection. Instead of plugging into investment grade comic books before the massive boom of the market like I wanted to, I was plugging it into a new statue probably every month. And eventually I racked up about, I'm thinking at the most I had about 45 quarter scale statues. Now think about that. Like I said, they ranged from 300 all the way to like 1200 bucks. I think on average they were probably 800 bucks. So 45 times 800, it's not great. It's really bad actually. If I had put that into comics, keep in mind I was collecting before this boom. If that was into comics, the books I would have in my collection would be insane. But I didn't. And I think that's one of the things is I got wise to it. You know, sometimes the aftermarket on XM and custom pieces goes crazy and it's really good for you. You can actually turn a profit. But the sideshow pieces, you're usually breaking even or you're going to lose 100 or 200 bucks per statue. Especially now that I'm starting to sell it, everything seems to be moving at like 400, 500, maybe 600 bucks, whereas I paid 675. You know what I mean? So it hasn't proved to be a good investment for me, and it took away from another angle that I should have been putting it all into. In addition to, I was running out of space, I was running out of funds, and I should have been putting money elsewhere. I just wasn't really digging a lot of the statues coming out. I would start to buy statues that I liked just because it was a quarter scale DC character, and I didn't even love it. I went for it because I wanted to have, you know, it was like a Pokemon, got to collect them all, and that's a really dangerous mindset. So it was actually a little bit bad for me psychologically. You know, I really dove into it head first, and I mean, there's seemingly no end in sight because you can release unlimited amounts of DC quarter scales throughout the upcoming decades. And if I had stayed, I probably would have gotten them all. And there would have been no room for comic books whatsoever. So I'm not a gajillionaire. In fact, at the time, I was making like 50 grand a year and I was doing like a couple odd jobs. And, you know, I certainly was not pulling in the money to be able to do different hobbies. So I had to get out so I could focus more on comic books. And also during that time, I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to have a YouTube channel, and you guys know what happened there. And again, I understand why the statues had to go up in price. I really do. It's just that I am one of the people that wasn't rich enough for that transition and I had to get out. Now, here's the problem I have. I'm starting to sell these statues. And now statues are ridiculously expensive now. Now they're like, I've been looking at, you just laugh. They're like $2,000 to like $3,000 for these third scales, sometimes even like 4 grand. It's borderline hilarious at this point. It's like, what, you choose that number out of a hat? But again, I'm joking, but I do understand these companies need to make money. It makes sense. But I'm trying to sell these statues, and some amazing stuff is coming out, even despite some ridiculous prices. Those freaking third scale Green Lantern and Sinestro statues. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That the part of my brain that got me into this mess starts immediately thinking, all right, I'm going to sell all the quarter scales and I'm going to get those third scales. And that wouldn't be so bad. I get all this gone and I have a couple third scales, but it is more money that I could be spending instead of putting it into comic books, which is really my bread and butter. But dude, those statues look so good. It looks so good. Green Lantern is one of my favorite comic books, and this clearly is inspired by that main Jeff Johns 2000s run. So, you know, I just feel a little bit stuck where I feel this hyper need that I almost have to get those, but it doesn't really work. Additionally, I couldn't believe my eyes, but Prime One, I want to say it was Prime One, I hope it wasn't XM, just released an Ellie and Abby from The Last of Us. Now, if I haven't mentioned it on this channel before, I have a hyper obsession with The Last of Us. I think it is my favorite, basically, thing in almost any medium, movies, TV, comic books, video games. It is the peak entertainment in my mind. I have probably played the first game on PS3, PS4, and PS5. I want to say, no exaggeration, it's got to be over 30 times. I used to have a lot more free time. Not so much anymore. Uh, Probably over 30 times. I played the multiplayer. I got 100%. I played it on the grounded, hardest difficulty. In fact, that's the only way I play it. I played The Last of Us Part 2 4 times through, and that is a much, 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 much longer game. I'm obsessed. I am hunting actively the early, I almost said Walking Dead, excuse me, Last of Us comics that came out from Dark Horse around that time. Even still, as crazy as I am about it, they are very expensive. And then this statue drops. And the funny thing is I actually don't know if it's the best statue I've ever seen. I do have some problems with it. I think Abby looks great. I don't think that Ellie looks completely fantastic in her face. Um, but I can tell you 100% I am getting out of statues and I am buying that statue. So statues have that crazy magnetic thing where even when you stick to your guns and say, I'm out, they pull you back in. And anything Last of Us or Green Lantern really tickles that bone, man. It's bad. So I'm out, but they've got me in. And there's other factors too. Like I'm getting married in May. We've been engaged for quite some time now, and we're talking about having kids. And I happen to know that getting gigantic boxes and statues, it's hard with when you start having kids and things like that. Getting comic books is one thing because I know how to navigate that and I can flip comic books and I can move them almost as quick as I got them in. It's different. With statues, they oftentimes sit. I've had a hard time moving them. So there's a lot of reasons why I had to get rid of statues, and there's a reason you haven't seen a statue review in I think over a year on this channel, is because I'm trying to get out. Now the other funny thing is I've still got custom statues that custom works differently than Sideshow. It's such a long timeline, they take forever to arrive. I've paid these things off, they still haven't shipped. I have a Clayface, an Atrocitus, King Shark. I've got all kinds of custom statues that I'd love to get out, but I already paid for them or almost paid for all of them, and they will be coming in. So maybe you'll see some more statue reviews, but I need to sell them immediately. I can't hold on to them. I don't want to have them anymore because if I have a Clayface, it might inspire my dumb brain to go back out and try to get other Batman villains to match. They gotta go. So anyway, this is kind of a video basically explaining why I don't do it anymore, why you haven't been seeing it, why you're probably not going to be seeing it anymore. What hobby do you have that kind of spiraled into just a money pit and you just had to get out? For me, it was frickin' statues, man. Let's hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like and comment on your way out. Don't forget to collect what you love. Just watch your budget and keep on hunting.